Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Premiership Quarter. Today, I'm going to be doing my 2024 Adelaide predictions. I'm going to be talking about the best 23, my prediction for it, and a couple of their awards. So, their best and fairest, their most improved, and who will kick the most goals for them in this upcoming season. So, to start with, I have already made my starting 23 for them. Just to quickly go through it, um, I think a big concern for them is their key position depth. So I think Butts and Murray are probably the two starters at the moment. I do believe Murray is coming off an injury, so that may impact it, where someone like James Borlase might come in or Josh Worrell because they were blooded last season due to their injuries. But I think at the moment those two will be the starters. It's going to be a battle, I think, if either of them are getting goals kicked on them in the early rounds, then it could very easily switch. I think their two mediums are Michelini and Hinge, and I think they're awesome. I think Michelini, as a rookie last season, first year player, he was really, really good. It's a hard position to play, being that medium defender, and you get all sorts of matchups. And he's got some great potential. Mitch Hinge, I'm a huge fan of. I think his left foot can be a bit erratic at times, but his speed and penetration with his run can be very important for them. And then their two rebounding halfbacks, I've got Brody Smith, who he's just been a consistent player for them for the last 8 years, really. And you can just rely on him to get meters gained off halfback every round. And then Wayne Miller, who I believe is going to have a really good season for them off of halfback. Great kick. If he can fix his decision making at times, then I think he can be really, really important to them. Their two wingers, Saligo and Jones. I think Saligo, it's going to be tough for him to break into that midfield. It's a decent mix, but he doesn't really have anything over anyone else at the moment. So I've got him on the wing. And then Chase Jones is the other one. I think he's just a slightly above average player. He can hit the goals at times, but not a huge fan of him. Their forward line, I've got the tools in Thilthorpe, Walker, and Fogarty. If Walker doesn't have the same kind of season he did last year because of his age, then it's going to be really tough for them to stay in the hunt for the eight. But I think he showed last year that age isn't really a factor for him. So he should be in line for another 60 ish goal season. Thilthorpe and Fogarty are the two make it or break it's, though. I think if either of them could kick more than 40 goals, even both of them to kick more than 40 goals, because we know how good of an attacking team they are, then Adelaide could even push for a top four spot, let alone top eight. If you did see my other video, I'll put it in the link in the description. I had Adelaide finishing eighth, and I think a lot of that will rely on Thilthorpe and Fogarty breaking out. Their smalls, I've got Ben Keys and Josh Rochelle. Keys is just a good player for them. His move position has been able to hit the scoreboard. Got unlucky last season, obviously, the Sydney gate. And I think Rochelle, he's got great potential. Bit of his attitude could change, and if it does, he could be in line for a great season. And then I think Isaac Rankin can just be anything for them. He could be a Charlie Cameron. He could be a Toby Green. He could be everything they need. He could make the All Australian 44-man team. Their midfield, I've got O'Brien as their ruckman. I don't think there's anyone better behind him. Um, Kieran Strachan had a couple games, I think last season or the year before, showed some things, but not great. And I think if they could potentially improve it, they would. But at the moment, there's not much for them to change. Laird and Dawson and Crouch. Crouch showed at the end of last season he can be really good for them. And then Jordan Dawson, he's just Brownlow contender. Really, he's awesome. Can play anywhere on the field. If you need him to go back, he'll go back. If you need him to kick a goal, he'll kick a goal. And Rory Laird's just your underneath midfielder. He'll do the dirty work for you, really. Their bench, I've got Dan Curtin, the rookie. He could play midfield, similar to Dawson. He could play forward. He could play back. I think it's up in the air at the moment. Looks like they might be trialing him more as a defender, from what I've heard. But it's going to be really interesting for them. Schoenberg and Sloan. Sloan is the leadership player, and then Schoenberg is the more younger midfielder players at the moment. And then Luke Pedler can just be a good small forward for them off the bench. Their sub, Lockie Scholl, I think if there is a player that might be pushing Roy Sloan out at the moment, I think it is him. And I think if you need him to replace Miller, who's got an injured, he'll do it. If Chase Jones, if he gets injured, he can do it. Ben Keys, I think he's just he hasn't solidified a spot, and that sort of makes him the sub for me. Going through their best and fairest, as you can see, I've got Isaac Rankin and Jordan Dawson as my top two. I think you can make an argument for Rankin almost winning it if he really breaks out, because he is just an impact player, and you do see him in games. He's that player. But Jordan Dawson is just awesome, and I have him topping it. And then in third, I've got Wayne Miller. I think if Adelaide do make the 8, I think he could have like a really, really good season off of half back. Like I'm not saying he's going to be like a Dacos or a Sinclair type player, but he could be like a Nick Newman for Carlton. I think he could be really important for them. Then I've got for the goal kicking, I've got Walker to top it. That's not a surprise. Just doesn't need to get injured, and he'll win it. Second, I've got Rankin. If he does break out, and he'll kick lots of goals, even if he does play midfield time. And then third, I've got Thilthorpe. I've got them making the 8, and I think Thilthorpe, it is time for him to do it. So I think he'll kick about 45 to 46 goals in the season. And then most improved, I've got Rankin, because I just think he'll make that jump. It's kind of time for him. I've got Miller, because I think he can have that season where he has everything go right for him. And then Saligo on the wing. If he does, then he will. If he's able to break into that midfield, if someone like Crouch isn't playing, or Sloan is that fourth midfielder, similar to what guy at the Gold Coast, what's his name? Sam Flanders. If he can do what Sam Flanders did at the back end of last season, then I think he can be part of the most improved. Now, Adelaide only really lost 2 players in Dodie and McAdam. Now, McAdam was sort of in that range where he might play some weeks, he might not. He had some injuries to deal with. He had some off-field issues to deal with. And I think it was a good piece of business to get rid of him at the end of this season, no matter what you got back. It was tough that they couldn't do a deal with involving Petty, because I don't even think he would have been played as a forward. I think he would have been played as a defender alongside Butts and Murray, or in replace of one of them. So that's really tough for them. But I also think the guy they got from Gold Coast, Chris Burgess, he could just be a great depth piece. It seems like they might be playing him as a defender and not as a forward, although he did kick the most goals in the VFL last season, which is a bit of a strange decision, I think. You could have gone for another key defender if you wanted one instead of a key forward. But I do like their draft picks. Daniel Curtin can be anything. He's got some real potential, and he can be like a awesome role player in every position. I don't think he's got a lockdown position at the moment, as I said earlier. But they've drafted really well. Oscar Ryan, another pickup, Charlie Edwards. And I think they've set themselves up quite well. If they can get like a top 10 pick by trading, or if they don't have about 10 or 11 in the 2024 draft and they target a key defender, I think that's their one list need. But outside of that, I think they've got a solid list. Hope for some development in the midfield. Someone like Saligo, even a Schoenberg. I think that'll help propel them moving forward. And outside of that, they've just got a super strong forward line, which will propel them into finals. Speaking of, in my prediction, I had them finishing 8th, and that would mean they would be playing Sydney, but up in Sydney, which is a really tough challenge for them. It would be great for their forwards because I think McCartan wouldn't be able to handle Walker, Fogarty, Thilthorpe all on his own, really, because he doesn't have much help outside of Rampy, who's more of a medium-sized anyway. But their midfield could really struggle against Goulden and Warner, and players like Taylor Adams and Callum Mills when he's back, and Sydney's forward line, if players like McLean and Amati and McDonald take a step that someone like Thilthorpe can take, then I think Butts and Murray might struggle to hold them down, and someone like Papley could run absolute right over them and kick 5 and have 20 disposals. So overall, I think it's going to be a positive season for Adelaide, and I hope that they do make finals because they are a super exciting team to watch when they're at their best, and I think finals will draw their best out of them. So yeah, thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments about what you think Adelaide can achieve in 2024.